Hey, my name is Lizzie Smiley, and I absolutely love helping people connect with their calling and all the tools they need to kick roadblocks and excuses right out the door so they can cultivate the life they dream about. If you want to launch, grow, pivot, or scale your Etsy shop, or you've always wanted to develop the mindset and skills to run your own business, then I'm your girl. I've had that entrepreneurial spirit going strong since my very first lemonade stand, and now I'm a work-at-home mama with multiple online companies and a full-time Etsy shop, all while being present with my kids for the everyday chaos and most important milestones. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things business, mindset, Etsy, creativity, dazzling our customers, and so much more. There's plenty of room at this table for you, so scooch on in and let's go. I'm holding nothing back. Welcome to How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. I'm so glad you're here. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. If it's looking a little different behind me, we have migrated north to our summer home. The Texas heat was just getting up there. It was time. And so we are in Wisconsin until November. I am a very, very happy human. So we've got a different set. It's not as sexy, but my view is much better. So here we are. I'm so excited you pressed play on this episode. It is so meaty. Like for the handmade seller, whether you want to go into laser engraving like this adorable couple or not, if you are just like struggling with how you're going to balance this with your schedule, if you're wondering how you're going to work together with your spouse, if you're just wondering about how to kind of structure all of it, and like I said, laser engraving or not, you're about to just take away so much. These guys are so charming and they're sharing so much information. So I'm going to introduce you to them in a second. But in case you have not heard this before, I wanted to talk to you for a second about how powerful Etsy ads can be, especially for a handmade or giftable business like this. I'll tell you what, I use Etsy ads in my print on demand shop when I had it open, and also right now in my digital product shop. And here's why. Listen to me, because some of you are like, oh, ads, I'm not into ads. It's not my thing. The reason I want to talk to you about it is because when I had my sign shop, it took me about 4 to 6 months to kind of figure out what I was doing. And I scaled from $25 a month to about $6,000 to $8,000 a month. Okay. That was when I finally figured out like SEO, and I just learned how to set up a listing, and I had better pictures. And that got me to where I was in the algorithm. I was making sales, adding new listings, and I'm making like 6,000 plus a month. Then once the next thing I learned after figuring out how to set up my listing, price my listing, get good pictures, SEO, the next thing I started playing with was Etsy ads because I had a proven concept. So I recommend ads only when you've got stuff that's already selling, because otherwise you need to be figuring out how to set up your listings better and learn the SEO and get a better product, whatever all that is. That's what you need to do first. But once you've got sales coming in, what I want you to know is that my $6,000 to $8,000 a month turned into $10,000 to $13,000 a month just by turning on Etsy ads. So once you've got those basics down, you can flip on ads and really, really kick your sales into it went from a aggressive part-time income to a full-time income for me. If you don't know anything about ads, you want to start learning about it, there is a free ads masterclass I'm going to be linking in the show notes. It was done by Hannah, who is so good at the data. She's so good at ads. She's really good at breaking it down way better than I am. And so I just want to invite you, if you want to start learning about this and you want to really like pour gasoline on the fire of your Etsy shop, you're going to want to go take that free masterclass, and do it now during summer, because then you're already going to have everything in place and you're going to know what to do in the fall when we're going into Q4 and everyone's sales are like growing. You're going to be able to take full advantage of that, like at full speed. It's free. There's literally no catch. So check it out. Watch that free video and start learning about ads, because it's going to be a really big deal for you down the road a little bit. The other tool that I wanted to kind of put a bug in your ear about, if you didn't listen to episode 177 with Gloria about public relations, I can't tell you how many of you guys have reached out to me because you've actually gotten media spots from the free advice on that podcast. And from her, she's got a free masterclass on PR as well. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to have social media or anything. A lot of media outlets are looking to put together gift guides, like, for different holidays. It'll be like back to school gift guides. There'll be Halloween gift guides. There'll be all of these things happening in the fall, or they're looking to like feature small businesses, and they love Etsy shops because Etsy stories are usually just so charming and a lot of handmade and all of that. And you can get your shop featured in some amazing places. Back in the day, I was able to get onto BuzzFeed and Huffington Post, and I got a crap ton of sales from that. Okay. Like, it didn't cost me anything. I didn't have to do anything. You like send an email. So check out episode 177 to learn more about PR. If you want to start, leveraging some of that without having to build social media, without having to do anything special. It's literally just knowing who to email. And our girl, Claudia, can tell you, like, go through her free masterclass. She can tell you where to go. So just wanted to make sure you heard about that in case that wouldn't have been an episode that you would have automatically clicked on. Let's talk about Tatiana and Matt and get into their incredible story. So Tatiana and Matt Leech are the husband and wife team behind Tailored and Treasured, a personalized laser engraving Etsy. I cannot read. Laser engraving shop on Etsy. What began as a print-on-demand experiment in 2023 quickly grew to a thriving business run out of their garage where they work late nights after putting their kids to bed. With no prior experience in design or business, they've learned everything along the way and now specialize in heartfelt, customized tumblers, water bottles, and keepsakes. Nearly 4,000 sales and hundreds of five-star reviews later, they credit their success to a deep love for meaningful gifting, a shared entrepreneurial spark, and a whole lot of caffeine. Oh my gosh, I love these guys so much. Please help me welcome Tatiana and Matt to the podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how are you? Thanks so much for having us.
I'm so excited and I get both of you. How did I get so lucky? This is so fun.
Yay.
I feel like you guys have it made though. You've got this down to a science. And one of the reasons your story is so fun is that you're handling different parts of the business together. You know, you're doing this as a team and I can't wait to dive into it. So I'm just going to lob questions at you and y'all decide who's going to answer. Like in a time where so many people are gravitating towards print on demand and digital products and everything that's a little more passive, you guys have gone hard on the handmade space. And I just want to know what you love about Handmade on Etsy.
I think we initially, my idea was to have a POD shop because I wanted to do the creative, the fun stuff, the designing. And when I discovered that somebody could print the products and ship them to the customer and that the tracking would be linked on the back end and all I had to do was the customer service and the fun part, I'm like, sign me up, you know? But then once he decided to join me, he was like, I want to have more control over the timelines and the end product and the quality. We kind of had different opinions, but he wanted to have more control over the quality in the whole process. And I think we've enjoyed doing that.
We have. I think we live in an era where people want things and they want it quickly, right? So not that our turnaround is like Amazon Prime or anything. We're quick, but you know, I think having full control over the handmade products that we provide really sets us up for good customer service. And really, I think the customers really expect that, number one. And I think doing your own handmade products, not that there's anything wrong with print on demand. We still try to do that and do quite a bit of it. But I think definitely having full control over everything is really important with the items that we sell. For the majority.
Yeah, I loved that feeling with my own handmade shop of just like, I know what I'm shipping out. I know what's going to arrive. I can't control the shipping piece, but like, I know the quality and I'm so with you, Matt. I love that as well. It just kind of gives you this extra confidence. You like feel really good about what you're sending out and you feel like, wow, something I made is going to be in somebody's home. This is so, it's like, there's a bit of a magical spark to it. But Tatiana, did you have to abandon your print on demand like design dreams or what happened with that?
I didn't completely, but I have kind of put that in the back burner a little bit just because, as you know, you've had a handmade business that takes up so much of your time. You know, yes. The making, the shipping, driving to the post office every day or, messaging customers. A lot of what we do is personalized. And I always send people like a free proof because I never want for you to get something in a font that you didn't like. Like a lot of people will request a font and then once they see the name on it, they're like, oh, I don't like how the T looks in that font, So I always want to get people's approval. And that's probably what takes up the bulk of the time. It's just creating that proof and sending it to the customer and getting them to say, yes, that looks good. Or no, let's switch it. Just for lack of time, we have two little kids, a 10 and a 5-year-old, and
we both work full time.
So we're doing this like as a side hustle.
Oh my gosh.
So I wish I had more time and I could do both because I see advantages to both. But yeah, we're mostly focused on our handmade business right now on the laser engraving.
I have so many new questions for you that I did not even warn you about. First of all, Tatiana, I know a million people are thinking this. Did you open up a new shop when you started the engraving, or did you add it in the same shop?
I added the same shop. I switched the name because the initial name was very easy. And we'll just keep it at that. I won't tell you what it was, but we switched the name and switched the banner, the logo, everything, and we just kept going. I didn't have too many listings on that first shop anyway, but we just kept the same.
And did you take out the print on demand stuff, or did you just leave it there and add to it?
I left it there and I added to it. I did remove some of my initial listings because, as you know, like when you first start, your stuff is pretty bad.
It's pretty rough.
And some of the things I had in there, I was like, I don't even know if I would buy this myself, you know? So yeah, it was more like experimenting, practicing how to create the listings. You know, there's so much to it. It was definitely good practice, but I did remove a lot of my initial listings.
Okay. I know people are thinking that. So I'm just like, we have to find out what she did, because people get really worried about, do I need to start a new shop? Do I do this in the same shop? And I think that we overthink it. So I just having a practical example is really helpful. The other thing I want to ask the two of you is why you choose to do this when it takes so much work and effort when you have full-time jobs and 2 kids.
I think it started for her wanting to start an Etsy shop with the POD type materials, but I think she's very creative. I like to think I'm a little creative. You know, I just think it just sounded fun. It started probably more as a hobby. Hey, let's see what happens. And I think after we started doing the laser engraved items, it quickly turned into, more than that. I think just like anybody else who's trying to do an Etsy store, trying to make some side money. That's just kind of how it started.
Right.
Okay. And, so creative outlet plus more additional income.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Summer camps and little weekend trips.
Yeah,
we were never looking to like quit our jobs.
Yeah, I don't think that's what was the intention.
Yeah.
Although it's eventually likely we'll come to a crossroad, at least for one of us. Because it is very demanding, more on her part. But when you get tons of orders in the queue and people want their items put out, usually that means she's out there packing items. I'm out there engraving items at 11, 12, 1 a.m. at sometimes, weekends. So it's just really trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together to make it all work. But we quickly kind of realized this is more than a hobby at this time, fairly quick.
Wow. Or even like bringing in someone for some part-time help to take some of that off of your plate. Can you guys talk about something I hear a lot about from people who want to sell or who want to grow is, and you guys are about to just debunk this whole thing, is I don't have the time. And of course it is a sacrifice, like we're making choices here. We're wanting to go on the trips. We're wanting to do the summer camps. We're going to make a sacrifice for it and then find joy along the way. But what does the schedule look like for you guys? Like how many orders are you processing in a month and how are you getting them out? Like talk us through your schedule.
I think for some of the busiest months we've had around between like 200 to 300 orders in a month.
Oh my gosh.
Right now it's been kind of slow, but June is usually a slower month for us.
And we just took about 7, 8, or 10 days off, so the store was closed. So there is a little bit of a lag, but yeah, generally, like she said, the higher months are extremely busy. A few hundred orders. I'm not sure what would a kind of a mid month look like. I'm not sure.
Right, I'd say about 100 orders.
100, 150 orders.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those are handmade items for the most part.
So it's things that you've got the base item and you're using the laser engraver to make it something special. So what happened? Like, oh my God. So are you doing any work in the morning, first of all? Do you try to get anything done in the morning for the shop?
Yes. We usually have to. So I have the advantage that I work from home. I work remote. So not having to drive into work each morning saves me a ton of time because we kind of live out in the country, Yes, in the morning, he takes our daughter to school and then he goes to work and then I take my son to his preschool and then I come home and I usually have to finish packing orders for the day. I have all the labels printed off the night before and I finish packing so I can put everything out so the postal service can come pick them up. And then around 8:30, 9 a.m., I start my day at my regular job. And then around lunchtime, I just eat my lunch real quick, and then, I check my messages. I'm responding to customer messages. I'm sending people proofs, so when he comes home at night, he has stuff to engrave. So I have to have things ready. And then once the day's over for us, once our work day is over, I guess we gotta
then we try to,
feed the kids and
enjoy the kids when they're up, they're little. So they go to bed 8, 9 o'clock ish.
Right.
And then I think after that, it's back at, whatever house duties need to be done and Etsy stuff. Yeah. It's really just about finding all we've poured a lot into just any free time that we have into this, doing our best to not try to do this during time when family's around, when the children are around, that sort of thing, to try to keep things separate the best we can. Yeah.
He's a lot better at that than I am, setting boundaries, because sometimes if the kids are preoccupied, they're playing together and not killing each other. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I can just sneak in, get on my laptop and, do a couple of these designs and send them to people. And then he's like, nope. I try to give him stuff to do. He's like, nope, not until they go to bed. So it's just a balancing act,
Do you take turns putting them to bed?
We do, yeah. It's our oldest is 10, youngest is 5, so needs a little more assistance with things. But we try to kind of switch off and make sure we spend the time with them. We really do. It's important. We don't want anything to interfere with, time with our kids. It really is important. So we do the best that we can. Now there is times that the little one will wake up and, come into the garage and we're out there working. That happens quite often, but it is what it is. It's like, hey man, you should be in bed. But they actually like to be helpful too. On the weekends, he enjoys taping boxes for us, and he likes to do the little tests that
putting stickers.
Yeah, he actually enjoys it.
The 5-year-old?
Yeah, he feels like he's a part of it.
Right.
And he likes the manual labor. Like if I tell him, sit here, put these boxes together for me, the tumbler boxes. He's all right.
He'll do 20, 30 boxes, and then, hey, what else can I do?
That is so cool. So you know what, though? I hear that again and again and again. Okay, so someone's putting the kids down. The other one's going out to the workshop / garage.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, that's when you're laser engraving. It's in the evening, and you're not even starting until after dinner, after the kids are in bed. You're not running that thing during dinner?
Well, it depends. If I'm doing items that might take a little longer.
Like a wrap.
Yeah, a wrap would take longer than just a simple design. I might come home and set a couple of those up and come in the house.
Okay.
But if it's just simple, one-sided, two-sided type things that really take, because they're pretty quick. So it really doesn't help to start something that would only take a few minutes. So really, if it's only going to be anything that would take any amount of time, that I would do that. But typically, no. It's
okay.
usually all
and so then what are you doing during this, Tatiana? He's engraving. You're like me. We don't even know how to turn that thing on. I'm kidding a little bit, but actually not. What happens for you during that time? You've already worked during the day. I'm just like, give the girl a break. She needs a margarita. But what do you do at that point?
We really try to do just whatever we can around the house. And it's funny because I don't believe in balance. I feel like there's periods where our business is doing super well and our house is a wreck.
Yeah.
Our kids are walking into the laundry room like, I need underwear. And then there's times where the house looks okay, but the business is not as busy. So we just try to do the best we can at the busy times and the slower times. So if it's up in the garage lasering, I'm usually making the kids lunches. I'm cleaning up the kitchen. I'm doing a little bit of laundry, just doing whatever I can. Right. And then once he starts getting caught up, he's like, all right, give me more. Then I have to get on the computer and I'm making sure that the customer that I'm sending the proofs to live in California. I'm like, okay, it's 10 o'clock here, but it's only 7 o'clock there. So they're not going to be alarmed. Like, why is this person messaging me at 10 o'clock at night? So I try to send people proofs at night sometimes, even though I feel like I shouldn't be doing that, but I try to be mindful of their time zone at least. So yeah.
You're nicer than me. I'm cranking it out when I can. You turn off your notifications if you don't want to hear from me.
That's what I said. Hey, you don't have to have your notifications on, right?
I know.
Yeah, I mean, not to be I like to be super considerate, but it's an international business a lot of the times. You know what I mean? We have to just go. So Tatiana, I love your heart. I feel like we would be friends. You're absolutely precious.
Oh,
When are you boxing this stuff?
A lot
Is
of
this
the time she'll be out there, when we're busy, we're engraving and packing at the same time too. I mean,
that's
just
what I was
pumping
wondering.
out.
yeah. And
Okay.
I'm kind of particular about my packing. Like I don't.
I was
I don't
hoping so. Please tell us
I'm
all
not
about
allowed.
it. We need to know.
I'm not allowed.
He can
I'm
make
obsessed.
boxes. He can take boxes, and he can close the boxes for me. But I do the wrapping. I wrap the tumblers in tissue, and I put little stickers and nice little handwritten notes when I have the time. So I like to do that. I feel like I'm wrapping a special gift for somebody.
Oh, and then okay. So the stickers are they like branded for your business?
I'm working on that right now. Right now, they just say thank you for supporting my small business.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys find boxes that tumblers fit perfectly into to ship in?
We are very scrappy, and we do keep the boxes they come in unless they're in like horrible shape.
Yes.
I've been trying to look into
They're
sourcing.
So the actual tumbler boxes, they're somewhat hard to come by. If that's what you're referring to, or you're referring to the shipping box.
All of it. I want to know all of it.
Yeah, so we double box for as much as we
Okay.
can. Yeah, so we try to find the tightest fitting boxes for the shipping box and whatnot. Those are we got pretty good at that, I think. Yeah, it's the actual tumbler box itself. Now, when we sell the brand name tumblers, they come obviously with real nice boxes usually.
We save those too.
Yeah. But some of those boxes, the white, kind of cardstock boxes, they're kind of hard to come by in that particular size.
Yeah, that's something we're working on currently, just sourcing boxes. And I was even looking at putting some branding on them.
Yes. Cute.
Nice.
But then we're always watching the cost, right? Like all of these little things add up. But every inch of shipping box that you can like minimize, like get the right size, it just changes everything.
Sure.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you have a full day. And so those busy months, sometimes you're working really, really late at night and then getting up and doing it all over again.
I would say definitely back to school is very busy.
Mother's
Day, and obviously starting in November through the New Year's, extremely busy. Those are some late nights.
We got really busy around the end of school year now with like teacher tumblers and
maybe some graduation.
The wine tumblers, the teacher 40-ounce wraps. They sold very well.
Just a lot, yeah. And right now it's wedding season, so we've been selling like bridesmaids and Mrs. Last name, with wedding date engraved, things like that.
Are you a print-on-demand or digital product Etsy seller who's tight on time or still learning all of the Etsy secrets? I totally remember the days of having no idea what product to create next before I learned how to make those informed decisions so I can really identify with where you're at. I know how stressful and frustrating it can be to just create listing after listing and see little to no results. You wonder what you're doing wrong and you just want someone to tell you what to create that's actually going to sell. Where are those opportunities? So let me give you a leg up with my weekly trends and opportunities report. You just join my membership, and every Monday, I'm going to send you an email with a list of exactly what is trending right now, with a video tutorial showing you how I found those trends and how to apply them in your shop. We're taking guesswork and extensive time off of your table. I'm also going to send you 5 print-on-demand and digital product opportunities that are growing in demand right now, helping new shops make sales and still have very low saturation in the marketplace. So your tight schedule, your newbie status doesn't have to hold you back anymore. I'm going to help you earn while you learn. You can grab my free demo to start and see an example of what the weekly trends and opportunities email looks like right from the show notes. See what you're going to get, and I will see you on the inside soon. It sounds like you've done a really good job of diversifying to be able to hit different parts of the year. I could totally go down that, but I do want to ask you about the weekend too. And I know I'm getting into the nitty gritty and this sounds really mundane, but you wouldn't believe how many people sit there and they can't, they're not sure how to set their schedule. They're not sure how they can make it work. And hearing you guys talk about it very practically. And this, by the way you're talking is exactly what my husband and I did in the sign shop. Like we literally, we could be the same couple. Like it's so funny to hear how you're talking through. You know what I mean? Just like how that trade-off and it's even how we work now, even though we don't have a physical product shop, but me, having our farm and having being like living in two different locations and having the little kids, and he's working a full-time job and I've got the kids all the time because they're both homeschooled, but then I'm also running a very big business. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a lot. And so the way that you're talking, it's hard for me to talk through that for people because I'm not talking about the practical physical products. It would be harder for people to conceptualize, oh, now I'm editing and now I'm doing Instagram content and now I'm writing show notes and now I'm working on my Etsy shop digital and now I'm running the AI and now, you know what I mean? It's more practical here. Okay, we're running the engraver, we're boxing the things, we're doing the wrap, so it's super helpful. Tell us about the weekend too. How do you structure that? And do you ever feel like the business is swallowing you whole in your personal time?
The best way to describe it would be like organized chaos. That's 7 days a week. Weekends are nice. We have little kids, as we said, so they're involved in sports and activities. So we have one child that does a competitive sport, so there's some travel involved with that. So there is a lot of just life demands. I think that, I think we don't necessarily set like a regular schedule. That it would never happen. Our week, especially our weekends, are just so different. But I think typically as we lead up to those weekends, we'll usually kind of come up with a plan. Like, we're going to do this. We got to go here. Then she'll say, I need time to pack some boxes or ship some orders, that sort of thing. So it's usually like more of a, I don't want to say last minute, but usually right before the weekend, kind of come up with a plan with the orders that we have and how we're going to handle them and how we're going to get everything out and who's going to do what with the kids and, that sort of thing. And when are we going to engrave these 28 tumblers we got to put out by Monday, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And that took some trial and error, because there would be times that we were so busy that, like I said, like if we noticed that the kids were entertained, they're jumping on the trampoline outside, we're like, all right, let's get on the laptop. But then it's like they have this like sixth sense. They know you're working. So they come inside and we're like, okay, we cannot both be working on this at the same time. Like one of us needs to be with them, even if you're not physically playing with them, even if you're just watching them play, so one of us needs to be outside with them while the other is doing something else. So we're usually like, stagger it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then we just kind of calculate, whatever travel we may have or just other, obligations and just try to work around it. Again, it usually amounts to in the evenings, that's usually kind of a time that's pretty safe.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Do you either of you travel for work?
No.
Thankfully, no.
No.
That's nice. So let's talk about, you've already shared that you make tumblers. What kind of machine are you working on? Talk to us, give us the stuff, Matt. What do you guys use and what engraver do you have?
So we're actually still using X-Tool products. We started with X-Tool, more of a hobby grade, just a little 10-watt laser when we just got started. I think that's probably what most people do. Not a huge investment. And I think that was 2023 summertime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's when we really, the tumblers really took off. So then I bought 2 more of them.
Wow.
Because just the settings on those, again, they did the job, but very slow, not very powerful, not much speed, that sort of thing. So ended up buying, running 3 or 4 of them, I think, at one time.
Yeah. And there was a specific tumbler wrap that we did on those lasers that took 8 hours.
Yeah, on that laser. Yeah.
So, 8 hours. So we would like set it in the morning, set it and forget it.
Yeah. Again, this all happened very quickly for us. So we bought a laser in like August, and then by November we were having hundreds of orders a week at that time in November, like around Thanksgiving, going into Christmas, and we definitely were not prepared.
That was the craziest holidays.
Which was good and bad because we liked getting the orders, but during those times we were up till like 2 a.m. every night trying to fulfill them. So quickly realized we needed to upgrade the equipment. I actually stayed, was looking at, thunder lasers, that sort of thing. So we ended up getting 2 X-Tool S1 40-watt lasers, which are pretty equivalent to like a mid-range CO2 laser. So that really did the trick for us. I mean, 2 of those, they're not sure what you know about the settings on those, but I mean, they can engrave up to 600 millimeters a second. Versus the equipment we were using prior, I might have been operating at like 60 millimeters per second. So a cup that took 30 minutes before now takes like 4 minutes. So that's just
my gosh, that's crazy.
Idea. So with two of those, we've been able to operate very, very efficiently, even with hundreds of tumbler orders operating two of those lasers. I know you hear a lot about the higher end lasers, which we definitely looked into right about this time last year, but just kind of decided, what we have is working for us. Obviously anytime you buy equipment, there's an investment involved.
Yeah. How much was it, Matt? How much do those run?
With the two that we have, with the setups and everything that we have for two of those, we're probably in the $5,000 to $6,000 range for two of them, which
that's
is
not bad at all.
Yeah, it's really not. And then obviously, you look at higher end lasers, they go anywhere from 7, 8 to 30 grand, depending on what you need. We don't do a lot of cutting. We don't really cut anything, but maybe just a little birch wood, 3-4 millimeter birch wood. We're not cutting metal. We're not fabricating anything. So certainly what we have.
We don't do acrylic.
Yeah, and that's the other. They're diode lasers, but they certainly operate power-wise as well as a CO2. Unless, you're looking at different materials like acrylic, metal, thicker wood. Then you would probably definitely want to look at a higher-end CO2 laser, and we still may next year. But certainly, what we have works just fine for us. We've been efficient. I don't think even in the last holiday season we didn't get behind, and we had, just tons of orders. And we stayed, on track with everything. So
I want to give him credit because I feel like he's done a lot of testing on these cups, and he's figured out that every cup, every brand, every color even engraves different.
Sure.
So he has different settings for a Stanley cup in the azure color, then like a rose quartz or black. Yeah. They all engrave differently. So every time he does a cup, I'm quality control. I make sure I'm like, this one didn't come out as shiny. So we adjust the settings as we go. And I feel like he's done great at that. Like if you see our cups, they're like very good quality, unless we're doing like a completely new, which happens sometimes.
Which we would test So anytime there's a new color that comes out, typically it's going to be the same setting as another setting I use. But that's the thing about those materials, and I think probably somebody new that's getting started, one of the, whether you're on a chat room or YouTube, people ask, what's the setting for this cup? Nobody could give you that answer. Everybody's machine's different. I have two 40-watt lasers. They're even a little bit different. And they're the same machine. One of them has, I don't know how many hours on it, but probably 6 months more of use than the other one. There is no quick, easy, hey, how do I engrave this? It really comes down to figuring out your settings and what works for the material that you're using. And as she was saying, what we found out very quickly, even a couple of years ago, is it is not one setting for everything. It could be a Stanley cup. They could be different colors. They're going to be different settings. At least from what my experience, but we've got them all dialed in, so they all come out great. There's a new cup we want to look into, like when the Awalas came out, a lot of them were very similar. But it does. Unfortunately, you gotta pay to play. You gotta do some testing to really make it come out. At least on these tumblers with that mirror finish, you really do got to play with the settings. If it's something new, there unfortunately just is no easy, one setting for everything. But it just takes time, and that's what I would tell somebody who's starting is you gotta play with your settings and test, your different materials. You can't just look that stuff up.
Is there anyone on YouTube that you watched to kind of get a sense of things? Also, I'm just gonna prophetically say, Matt, I feel like you need to start a YouTube channel talking about this stuff.
If I had time, because I am on, some Facebook groups and I always say, the question comes up and I tell her, people say, what settings do I use for this cup? And it's not that easy. It's just not that easy. Unfortunately, you could have the same exact machine as me. You could live in a different climate. Your your laser is probably going
Yeah.
to work a little differently than mine. So it just ultimately comes down to trial and error. That's what we did at first. And then when we got the new lasers, everything was different. I had to really do it again, obviously. So, but yeah, once you get everything dialed in, it's just a smooth operation, to tell you the truth.
You just have to really have the patience to do that piece. But I feel like, if you can get at least someone pointing you in the right direction, then you can play with your settings from there. So when you go full time, Matt, when you leave your job and you go full time in the engraving business,
It would be
you can
her.
add YouTube as
She'll have to use
another
learn to
source
use
of
the
income.
engraver.
Oh, sorry, Tatiana. I was not trying to make him say that. Tatiana, let's talk to you for a second, because clearly, and we were talking before we even hit play. You guys should see, if you're not watching this on YouTube, they're staged in such a sweet area of the house, and like it's not like they do stuff like this every day. They literally probably had to take the day off of work to meet with me. But they're set, and I'm just like, and yeah, but the aesthetics, like Tatiana clearly has an eye for aesthetics. So talk to me about how you choose what to create, like design wise. How are you making these designs? How are you keeping it so relevant? Because the other thing that you've said, I mean, sure, there's slow times, but you've shown growth over the past couple of years. Like you're clearly doing something very right. And I'd love to hear your insight on how you're making these choices.
Yeah. So
So cute.
I truly believe in like making database decisions. So I use Everbee, I use eRank. I'm in the data a lot. So I'm always looking at the trends. I also do things I enjoy. I love florals. I'm wearing a floral top right now. So we like to engrave florals on cups, and those sell well. I don't know if you can see that one.
Yeah. Yes. It's beautiful.
But I also love doing like kids' water bottles, and my kids tell me, the things that they like.
Sure.
My son saw like the new green metal Stanley, and he said, that would be perfect for a garbage truck. And I was like, all right, let's do it. We got him like a red Yeti cup, and he said, let's do fire trucks. They tell me the types of things that they want on their cups, and having kids, what kind of fonts kids like and what's in. And we're just very careful not to use things that are trademarked and copyrighted. We don't do
people ask us
Disney.
all the time. So it's not worth it for us.
Sorry,
we don't do
want to
Disney.
keep my house, but thanks.
Yeah. So it's just, I spend some time on Etsy looking what's selling, and I spend some time in the data too, looking at how many sales, how many people are searching for that product, and what's the competition like. If there's already hundreds of people selling this type of cup or design, then maybe that's not something that I want to get into.
Are you creating SVGs or PNGs?
On the laser, I like SVGs. Obviously, it's going to be your clearest image. We can convert things. So what happens a lot of times, we get messages all the time with a customer that might say, hey, can you put this on a cup for me? And it'll be the worst quality image you've ever seen. So, we really desire the SVG image. We can convert, but sometimes images you can only do so much with them. But when we create our own designs, certainly we use the SVG image.
So what software are you using for that to create them?
Canva. We do.
Okay.
I do most of my stuff in Canva. I signed up for Kiddo, but I'm still learning how to use that.
Yeah, no, Canva is still my total jam. So, okay, do you just create it in black and white then, and then export it as an SVG?
Yes. Yes. And we found that there's certain designs that engrave better than others,
Okay.
We kind of have an eye for looking at something and being like, oh, this is not going to engrave.
Yeah, I think what you mean by that is how it looks on the tumbler after you engrave it. It'll engrave it exactly as it's presented. Just some things just don't look good on certain tumblers. I think that's what you're trying to say. Certain fonts, and that's a matter of opinion, I think, really. But I think more or less there's certain designs that don't look great on certain color cups too.
Yeah, there's also like certain design elements that engrave very heavy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then that's, I think over time, we've figured out if we're doing this type of font, we need to adjust the settings a little bit. Again, that's just knowing how to use your laser effectively, though, I think.
This is so random. So if you're testing things, Matt, do you have like a tester, a tumbler, and you just test a little bit of it and then you test another part of it over here, and then or are you literally going to run the whole thing to see how it goes?
Oh, no,
I know that's such a ridiculous question. I'm so
and I
curious.
honestly haven't had to do that in a long time, but back when we were trying to figure certain settings out, basically you've scrapped the cup at that point. So now instead of just doing the whole thing, not to waste the rest of the cup, I'll just do maybe one part of the design or one letter until it comes out the way I like it.
That makes so much more sense, doesn't it? Like I'm sitting here thinking, you're going through thousands of dollars of tumblers with this testing.
Yeah,
you're just doing a little.
No, we've gone through some, and when we started, we definitely went through some,
and that was painful.
It was, yeah,
it was very.
That's
painful.
why I say that unfortunately there is no golden rule with settings. It's really unique to the laser. It's unique to the material, color, that sort of thing.
How did you guys come up? You really focus on like the giftable types of products. Obviously, a lot of personalization, but giftable. Have you found that to be a real sweet spot? What are your thoughts on that, Tatiana?
Yes, I just love it. I love Etsy. I love working with customers. I love that they have the ability to message me and let me know exactly what they're thinking, and I just love how thoughtful some people can be. And I love working with them to create exactly the perfect one-of-a-kind item that they're looking for. On the other hand, the personalized things are very time consuming. So we're also trying to get into more of the like B2B engraving logos on cups, because that takes no time.
Yeah, which we've done a lot of, even in the early times. That's the cool thing about Etsy. A company can reach out to you from Tennessee and want 50 tumblers for their air conditioning company. We've done that, and we've done that a bunch of times, and that's, I think, really something, that we want to try to do more of. We've done a bunch locally. I won't name the business, but we've done quite a few locally here.
Yeah.
And it's really, I think, as somebody who's got a small business or Etsy shop, that's a really good way to get into pretty profitable, because typically a business is going to do that multiple times a year, or they're going to say, hey, I need 50 more of those, or Christmas is coming, I need these for my employees, that sort of thing. So it's always something good to, treat, when you have a business that's going to treat you good, they're going to come back. So
yeah.
They're usually lower maintenance too, right? It's easier. They're like, here's what I want, take care of it. I mean, you're not going to make as much per tumbler probably. You've got to give them a bit more of a bulk price, but
sure. Yeah.
No headaches.
Exactly.
It's usually much easier. Yeah.
Not as fun as creating something personalized for somebody, but it kind of offsets the amount of time that it takes to create something from scratch for somebody.
Are you brand new to Etsy, about to get started, or struggling a bit to find your groove? What I'm about to say is just for you, okay? I can completely relate to where you're at, because I think I can help you achieve success faster. When I first started my Etsy shop, it was not one of those success stories that we hear on the big YouTube channels, even on this podcast, where I just had crazy success and it took off right away. All right. I all but failed for my first 6 months, just like a lot of new sellers. And so it's very relatable. And the issue for me was I didn't understand demand, for one. I didn't understand SEO. I was way too broad in my search terms. And I didn't know how to position my product so that customers just couldn't help but click add to cart. And so once I learned those things, I went from making about $25 a month in sales to $6,000 a month and up. And in the holidays, I would even have $13,000 months, like at my shop's peak. And the thing about me, if you've been here for a minute, you already know this. I'm a terrible gatekeeper, okay? When I figure something out, when I crack a code, when I get excited, I cannot help but tell everybody who wants to listen. It's like either my best asset or my toxic trait. I can't decide. But I put everything that you need to know to fill that beginner knowledge gap into a low ticket, just under 3 hours beginner course that I have called 6-Figure Secrets to Getting Started on Etsy. In it, I'm teaching you how to find what's in demand for your niche, how to find and use trends, how to start your shop if you're worried about that part, SEO strategy to find the micro niches where the opportunity is, how to understand the Etsy algorithm, and a ton more. The whole thing is bite-sized videos, not long form, just small bite-sized videos, zero fluff, and to the point. You could get the course today, go through the less than 3 hours over the next couple days, launch your shop this weekend, and have sales coming in as soon as Sunday. So let's get you the few missing pieces of the Etsy success puzzle, those little tweaks you need to make so you can start making the sales that you deserve, because I have never been more convinced that there is room at this table on Etsy for everyone. And the opportunity is so ripe right now. I am in the numbers, in the data every day, and my mind just keeps expanding on the possibilities, okay? So as a special treat, use the code SAVE50 to save $50 on the Six Figure Secrets course today. That's $50 off with a coupon SAVE50. And by all means, DM me or shoot me an email when those sales start popping, because I want to celebrate with you. How do you send a proof of a tumbler to somebody?
I can either send just the design, but I also like to get a picture. If you get a picture of the actual tumbler, you put it in Canva, you remove the background, you can place that graphic or that image like on the tumbler just to give them an idea. Yeah. It's usually like black or gray, so it's not going to look like the most realistic, but I just want to make
just
sure
more for the sizing, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm just like, I'm thinking, how are you in Canva putting it so it shows the curve of the, you know what I mean? Like the full wraps.
Yeah, we don't do the full wraps necessarily. I mean, you can
do like the front and the
8
back.
hours, right? I was wondering, like, you still do those 8-hour wraps?
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. Those don't take that long anymore. Usually,
it's like when we had the sign shop, we sold a lot of like stained signs. They would be stained with like white lettering, and those were the hardest. And eventually, I was just like, nope, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So it's like, yeah, you figure out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, and usually we like to, for the Etsy store at least, like to use real photos of not necessarily mock-ups, but ones that we've done. So we'll make them as a gift for somebody else and use those as the photos. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, our kids probably have about 20 Stanley cups apiece because of that reason. But in my opinion, nothing better than showing a final product, a real product, versus just an image on a cup. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that, but I think when you can show the final product in your listing, that definitely can give you some traction in terms of people not only seeing, hey, they have this design on this cup, but there it is, and that's how nice it looks.
Yeah, I think it also helps to have that video. We put it on this like rotating device, and you can see it. And I think it helps to have a video for like ranking purposes, anyways, right? Having all the photos that you can have in the listing, having a video, SEO, all of that.
So where did you get the rotating guy for the photos?
Just Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
What is it thing called? Like if someone was going to search for that, what would they type in the search?
Ooh, now you got
I'm all curious. Rotating.
I don't know. It's been so long since we bought them.
Yeah, we actually.
It would be for like staging, right? Rotating photography.
We've done festivals also locally here. We try to do like the fall festivals. Those are nice. They're very attractive when you put a wrap on there and it spins and you have a light on it.
Cool.
I'm sure you can go back in your
rotating photography stand for inquiring minds who are sitting there hearing, ooh, I want something that rotates, and would not even know what to. I mean, same. We're sitting here like, I don't know what you type into Amazon. Yeah. Rotating photography stand, guys.
Products.
I think that's so brilliant. I love that you take the time to. You guys are really special. Oh. You're very intentional. You're very thoughtful. You are just high integrity people. And I feel like, I mean, even myself, I'm so rushed. I'm looking for shortcuts a lot. And I know we all are trying to be more efficient. I mean, you're looking for efficiencies, but you guys, where it really counts, you don't cut corners and you take the extra time to make it thoughtful and intentional. And it's extremely rare. So I just want to acknowledge that you guys are really a special couple.
Thank you.
You guys also, you need to see the way she looks at him. Oh my gosh. How long have y'all been married?
15, 16.
A little bit.
Wow. A long while. 15, 16
it's been a minute.
years.
She looks at him like they're newlyweds, y'all. It's the sweetest thing ever.
17 years.
Okay, lovebirds. Tell us, people who are newer at this, what tips do you want to give them? What do you want to make sure we share?
I would say just get started. Some people get so caught up on having the perfect logo, the perfect banner. Some people spend so much time trying to figure out like my shop name.
Yeah, everything can be changed.
I think you just need to get started, get going, find the product that you enjoy making, and make sure
you're interested in.
Make sure there's data behind it. There's demand.
Yeah.
You don't want to try to sell something that nobody wants to buy. So make sure there's demand and make sure there's not too many people already selling it. So look at your competition and, just do your homework. How they say, success leaves clues. That's something that I did in the very beginning. I looked at shops that were selling just thousands and thousands of those tumblers. And I'm like, what are they doing? Not that I want to copy what they're doing, but what kinds of designs, what do their photos look like? What SEO are they using? What kind of questions are they answering like within their listing? So all of those things, just doing your homework is very important.
Yeah, I think it takes time not to get discouraged if you aren't extremely successful right away.
It took us like 4 months.
It took us a little while,
to sell something to somebody that wasn't
a family member or a friend.
Right.
Yeah, but in terms of equipment, if you're into wanting to, begin, laser engraved items, don't spend a lot of money right away.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of good equipment out there to get started and just test the waters and see if it's something that you're even interested in. I love machines and tools and equipment, always have. So for me, it was like, yeah, let me help you out with this business. I'll go buy a couple, pieces of equipment and some tools, and that's probably a little bit for myself too. But I enjoy it. I really do. I enjoyed figuring them out. I enjoyed sitting out in the garage and figuring out why did that turn out like that. So, just there's plenty of, do your homework, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube, but at the end of the day, learn what you can, but you also have to put in your own time with your own materials and figure it out. You can't just learn everything, from YouTube. You can learn a lot from YouTube. I certainly did. But it also comes down at some point testing items and, different materials, that sort of thing. But just do it. Just buy an inexpensive, laser machine and fool around with it,
And there's just so much, like we said, there's just so much you can do with a laser engraver.
Yeah.
You can engrave glass, you can engrave tumblers, you can do wood,
silicone,
cutting boards.
You can engrave paper. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, I did it, right?
Yeah, you can cut paper, you can engrave paper. There's so many.
The possibilities are just endless.
Yeah.
I see people.
We got our secondhand on Facebook Marketplace. Do you know what I mean? We didn't even buy a new one.
Right.
I just sold all of our old equipment on there for someone kind of doing the same thing. One of the young, college age kid. Hey, I'm just going to do some leather patch hats. I said, this is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need. But it can quickly. Yeah. I think your demand should kind of dictate what type of equipment you purchase. Right. So I don't think personally there would be any real reason to spend X amount of dollars if the demand wasn't there, right? So I think you just kind of test the waters, and I think you have to enjoy it. If it's not enjoyable to you, you might want to look into another, medium or some other outlet on Etsy, I guess you could say, POD or something like that.
Do you think you'll pick that back up ever, Tatiana? Will you go back to your print on demand eventually, you think?
I think so. I've done a couple of designs for specific niches that have done well. And some of them were just kind of accidental. Like a friend said, oh, can you make me a gymnastics mom shirt? And I did it. And, I ended up selling 30 of them, 40 of them. Yeah. And I do enjoy that. Like I said, I enjoy the kind of the lazy work, creating the design, putting it out there. Not that it's lazy work, because it is a lot of work to create a listing and mock-ups and all of that. But once that's done, it's done. And then the person purchases it. And some of it has a personalized element, but a lot of it doesn't. I had these mugs at one point that just sold like hotcakes. It was like a political design. And it was just the easiest money ever. I would get that sale and be like, yes, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I just have to push approve. And then somebody will make them and somebody will ship them. And I had very little issues with quality. With the provider that I had chosen, and it worked out great.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
it was almost like passive income. So I enjoyed that as well.
After a handmade business where you get the cha-ching and your work is just beginning, it's like print on demand or digital products. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to do anything.
Right.
I know, it's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, because you got those 200 orders in queue. You're grateful that they're there, but then 201 comes in, and you're a little torn between like, oh my gosh, or, and yay, like it's a right? Am I right?
We've definitely been there. I think where, yeah, like you said, you're excited, but you're like, oh man, when is this going to stop? Because I don't know how much more we can do. Just again because of our situation, and we work full time, so. It can get pretty hectic, but at the end of the day, Etsy's been good for us.
Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. There's times where he'd be like, take everything off sale or increase the prices, start charging for shipping, because I can't keep up.
Yep. Push out the turnaround time was a big one for me.
Yeah. Right.
That I used. Right. Mm-hmm. You guys are amazing. Good job.
Oh, thank you. We're trying.
You're so inspiring.
We love what we do.
Where can people find you? Tatiana, I'm so sorry. I've talked over you like 3 times, and I have not intended to.
It's fine. I think that's a little bit of a lag, so it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, my Northwoods internet is lacking a little bit compared to our Texas, so I'm so sorry, especially everyone else who's yelling at me to stop interrupting. I know I've been such a jerk. I haven't meant to.
No worries.
But where can people find you guys and connect?
So we are slowly moving. Trying to move away from Etsy a little bit into our own website. It's tailoredandtreasured.com. We're also on Instagram. Our handle is @tailoredandtreasured. And, just come say hi. We're happy to answer any questions that anybody may have. And we're just grateful we get to do this. And if we can inspire at least like one person to get started on their business, I feel like this has been well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you going to be driving traffic to the new shop?
I think Instagram, which Instagram, Pinterest. I'm trying to crack the code on Pinterest. I know it works well for a lot of people, and people make it sound like it's almost like you don't have to spend a whole lot of time in there. And I have noticed that I haven't done a whole lot on Pinterest, but I get almost as many visits out of Pinterest than I get out of Instagram, which I spend a lot of time on, creating all those reels and all. But I don't know, the fee that we have to pay through Shopify is a lot less than Etsy, obviously. And I feel like once we start getting, if we get big orders for like businesses and things like that, it's worth it to just direct them to the website versus having to pay the Etsy fee and all of that.
I think that's really smart for the corporate clients. That's a really, really smart way to handle it. Right. You'll have to keep us posted then. When you go blow up your Shopify store, we'll have you guys back to tell us how that went, how that transition went, and how you're making that happen.
Right. Sure. It may be crickets, I feel like that's most people's experience. You open your own website and nobody comes. So we'll see.
Yeah, that Etsy marketplace is pretty magical, but it's still doable. And you're right, for your corporate clients especially, this is going to be great. And if anyone can crack it, it's you, ma'am.
Thank you.
You got this. Okay, you two are a riot. I love you guys so much. You're so charming. Thank you so much for being willing to come and share and help inspire the next sellers coming on the marketplace. This is an extremely valuable, helpful episode with everything you shared.
Oh,
thank you so much.
It was our pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You guys are great. Okay, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you're walking away inspired and encouraged and ready to start. Like Tatiana said, just start. It's never going to feel like the right time. And until next week, go make something awesome. I love y'all. Bye.
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 And that's a wrap on this episode of How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're looking for more resources, head on over to howtosellyourstuff.com, where you'll find podcast show notes, all the links from today's episode, the blog, courses, coaching, and more. If this episode was helpful to you, awesome. The greatest compliment I can receive from you is a rate, review, and subscribe on this podcast. Not only will it allow us to connect again on a future episode, it lets me know I'm providing you with value and helps other people find this content more easily. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support. Have a great day and see you next time.